We are in part 6 talking about early Christianity, and this one is going to get more into some of the Gnosticism and spiritual frameworks. As always, I will try to keep this under 5 minutes, and if you want to push the times too, you can get through a little bit faster. So as we begin to talk about early Christianity, most of what we know about early Christianity started from the orthodoxy, right? It was the propaganda of the mainstream church, the church that succeeded. It was their narrative of their right? Their apostolic succession all the way back to Jesus Christ's mouth. As I said in previous videos, this was their claim that they had had this single narrative the entire time, and yet that is not the case. The archaeological evidence shows that there was many different things. And we have an understanding in finding the things of the Nag Hammadi library and the Dead Sea Scrolls. We have the element of looking at these and going, wait, we thought Gospels only focused on the death of Jesus Christ, that was his entire point. Like, all of these people believed that it was the death of Jesus Christ that brought forth salvation. And yet in the Gnostic Gospels, fundamentally, that's not the case. And so the entire definition of what a gospel was fundamentally expanded through the understanding that these people focused more on the life of Jesus and the ways in which there was wisdom imparted and the secret knowledge that was potentially imparted to some of his followers, the beloved apostles, right? The understanding that these people had knowledge and wisdom, and like a Zen koan had to break apart some of the meaning to find the deeper way. And like any teacher would be giving you a path, and Jesus Christ was the answer, but not through his death, but through the messages he conveyed in his life. And so a lot of this became part of the umbrella categorization of Gnosis, or being a Gnostic, a seeker of the knowledge, of the hidden knowledge, of the different ways that Jesus's words conveyed this knowledge, both through what became canonical as well as extra-canonical texts. And so this idea moves forward in the sense that there are a lot of Gnostic beliefs that became its own movement, right? They became different types of movements, some that were squashed, some that were incorporated into the orthodoxy because they were close enough to the orthodoxy that they gained popularity. And that is something we have to recognize. There are moments in which the orthodoxy adopted the Gnostic beliefs or tolerated and even celebrated some of the mystic elements within their own priests and within their own nuns. But there's a lot of tension there on when they were willing to accept this and when they weren't. What's really interesting, though, is how widely some of these heretical texts were circulated. Like the Acts of Paul and Thecla were so popular, and those things still exist. We still have copies of them because even though the church tried to stamp it out, it fundamentally retained a lot of popularity. And there are other ones that were rejected because of the fact that they were so deeply anti-Semitic that they were actually offensive to people, even in a time when anti-Semitism was rampant in the empire, right? There are some that were widely circulated and they were rejected fundamentally because they didn't answer the question about Jesus' death the right way, right? Or they projected Jesus as being less than perfect. They gave Jesus too much humanity, and people didn't like that. Other theories were very much the kind of edgelord theories that anybody else might come up with. The idea that Jesus was a hallucination or a projection, or God just kind of putting an image of himself into all of our heads as a mass hallucination, that we were all sort of just not having him there physically. We just thought he was. There's these ideas of like, Jesus was a man, but during his baptism, the Holy Spirit entered into him and made him both man and God. There's theories of like, there are so many different theories about like Jesus's relationship with divinity, and entire debates on whether Jesus pooped or not, or whether he could have actually been a man, because then that meant he would have been a boy who had, unintentional things like that happen. And so, like, these kinds of things were literally debates happening in theological circles.